Hello everyone and welcome back to Devils United. This is a preview for Man United versus Manchester City. Hello everyone, welcome back to Devils United. Today we will be doing a preview for Manchester United versus Manchester City. With me today I've got Connor, I've got Top and I've got Reese. Hello everyone, how are you all?
Good.
All right.
Yeah, just better. I think it's been a weird 10 to 14 days as United fans, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Hopefully now, maybe we might start a bit more improvements. We might see something, maybe. But Varane's injured now, isn't he? Which is a bit of a shame.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, that was the thing. When he went down, what I said to you, what did I say? That's his hamstring.
Yeah, you said it straight away, didn't you? You knew it.
Hamstring's gone. And do you know what? I mean, oh, God. But on the positive note, Baye, I do like Baye. I've always liked Baye. I think his tenacity and his aggressiveness is sometimes it's good, but he can get a little bit kind of like, you know, how should we say, violent. which can cost.
Yeah, and I don't think people want to hear it either, but I do think Baye was at fault for both goals as well. I don't think people really want to hear that because they like to slate Maguire, but Eric Baye on the first one diving in, yes, it deflects off McTominay. Same with the second one, he's far too high compared to the rest of the back three. So yeah, I agree. I tweeted at one point that Atalanta would have been out of sight if it wasn't for him. So he did save us on numerous occasions. However, he was at fault as well. Those lapses in concentration. I mean, you can't really defend any of the back line, can you, at the minute? They're all as bad as each other. So maybe it's time for Phil Jones. Who knows? Never thought I'd be saying that on a stream.
I don't want to think about
Go on,
that.
Reece. You know you want to back that up.
No, I don't even want to think that ever again. No.
Then what back two are you thinking of then?
I'm just watching two electrifying teams in the background go at each other head to head. And now I'm hearing fucking Phil Jones's name. That's ruined my day already. And also, I'm watching how bad English referees are as well. I'm actually sick of calling out how shit English refs are. But fuck me, they're awful.
We've noticed that quite a lot. I'll go for a couple of the comments. I've got some questions ready for the game of going ahead. We've got Brad here. Looking forward to the show. Hi, Brad. I hope you're okay. We've got Elliot here. I've not seen Elliot in the channel before, so hello, Elliot. Thank you for tuning in today, and let's go United. Got Niall, Evening Maisy, looking forward to a great stream yesterday on Man United Agenda. Thank you very much for that, Niall. And if anyone does want to subscribe to Man United Agenda, it is on my featured channel. We've got Stevie Bruce here in the chat. Hello there, Steve. How are you? Got Bath Time here. Hello there, Bath Time. Niall, Evening Maisy and guest, evening to you too. We've got Rich here in the chat. Hello there, Rich. And if you do want to subscribe to Rich, he is also on my featured channel. Are you guys not watching the Champions League tonight? Yeah, this one down here is watching the Champions League.
I'm watching Ajax versus Dortmund. Dortmund are all over Ajax. And Dortmund are a man down and 1-0 up.
Wow.
Liverpool are taking a piss out about Let's Go Madrid. They've had a man sent off.
People are spunking all over Liverpool. They're shit. Honestly, people are talking up Liverpool. They're individual brilliance, man. Like people say we rely on individual brilliance. All Liverpool do is rely on Mo Salah.
I know. A future
Honestly,
Ballon d'Or winner by what Liverpool say.
Yeah.
Rick,
And-
hello everyone.
I'll be in a coffin probably long before he gets a Ballon d'Or.
Bath time. Baye plays like he's auditioning for a karate film.
No, Maisy,
No.
you got to say it. Karate. Karate. Like SpongeBob. You got to do it in
Nah, if you
SpongeBob
got to do karate, there's only one way you can do it. It's got to be it's got to be full on like Karate Kid. It's got to be full on karate here, not here.
Oh, what was his name again? That fella,
Mr. Miyagi.
That's him. Yeah,
He was like one of the best characters ever.
Wax
A
on.
brilliant actor and a brilliant human being as well. He did a lot of charitable work as well. Back in his home nations.
Wax on, wax off. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Show me sand the floor.
Do you know what? This is where we're at. This is what the club's doing to us, Reece. Can you not see it?
Aye,
It's driving us insane. It's driving us insane, mate. Because we kind of, I think we're like now it's like a circus. We're in a circus, aren't we, at the moment with Man United?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Some people just think, no, there's nothing wrong. It always makes me laugh to just think, what? Oh, wait a minute. How long you been supporting Man United? Tell me. That's it. About 5 years on your bike, pal. Don't come to me and you've been supporting Man United for 5 or even 10 years. Fuck off. Right? I've been supporting Man United over 30 years. Fuck off. Don't come to me and tell me you know what you're talking about when you've been supporting the club for 5, 10 years. Bollocks. I'm not having it. I'm not fucking having it. I'm not having it. Sorry, but listen, the club, let me just tell you right now how it is. Man United. We are upside down, inside out, and spinning round at this moment in time. We're completely all over the shop. Ollie, like I said before, we're banging our heads against the wall. Ollie's done all he can for me. He's done all he can. He cannot improve the squad any further. He just can't. He's proved it last night. He bottled it. He went out with this setup, this whole new setup that I'm gonna do it. It's all gonna be great. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. Fucking hell, we get one player sent off, and then what does he do? Bottles it and goes for it at the back. Then the rest of it in front. What was that? You think anyone can solve that jigsaw puzzle? What was going on in front of those four? I'm all ears because that's exactly what it was. It was a free for all.
See, the thing is with football right now. The thing with football right now is people constantly suggest managers and changes and all that. I sent you a link last night to an article. Even like I was shocked. Like fucking like how ironic is it? The man that manages our local rivals suggested the manager that actually could turn it around. He actually suggested Enrique. Guardiola himself suggested Enrique to Man United. And a lot of people disagree, going, it's not the right choice. But if you actually think about it in a logical sense, right? A lot of people suggest Ten Hag because he plays phenomenal football and he promotes young players. And he comes from, in terms of club stature, it fits the bill because he's coming to United, which in quote in a similar way, Ajax and Man United are almost the exact same club, if you think about it. European pedigree, love to play young players, and they play a certain way of football that excite the fans. It's a success. But if you actually think about it, Enrique is like, even though he's maybe a bit more controversial, his style and his methods is almost identical. If you actually think about it, he also plays young players. He's not afraid to play a young player. He plays good football. And he also has the background of managing clubs that have that pedigree. But then again, it doesn't matter who you bring in because you've still got to look around your squad and think, is this actually enough for me to get going? I think if you were to put Van der Sar, sweet. If you were to put a Ten Hag or Enrique in the squad, you would see improvement in certain areas of the squad, but it'd only be before long where they have to actually start bringing something into their stature. I think the only thing all they can do right now to keep to actually turn things around for himself is he looks at his coaching staff and he thinks he needs to get in the elite because he doesn't have quote unquote elite coaching. If he had that around him, he would be able to try and implement a successful style that could build. But the problem is, And I know like people don't want to get into the whole Ollie and Ollie out debate, but rather have a simple but yet important discussion about the matter. You can't exactly now suggest to him go and get elite coaches now when it's been it's 3 years now. You can't just have the conversation now about getting elite coaching. It could have been done like a year ago. Could have been done last summer. It gets to the point now where you're just going to have to hope that results improve and you figure it out game by game. But even that's not enough. Like it's that stage. And I'm looking at right now in European football, and I think it has to be somebody who fits the mould. It's got to be somebody who fits the bill for what a United manager is, and I think it's only realistically from those two. But then again, what is defined in your way, a Man United manager, for me, it's got to be European pedigree, plays young players, plays exciting football, and knows how to win when it matters. In the minute, we only have maybe one factor. We just don't have enough. But you can't. I'd rather get drunk than talk about managers.
Niall actually had a question about managers here about Emre rejecting the Newcastle job because he feels at home at Villarreal and he's fully committed. If I'm sure we touched on this a little bit as well, didn't we, last night talk on that stream? And I did say I didn't think he'd leave Villarreal just because with him recently winning Europa League as well.
He wouldn't leave. I think he'll last the season out. He'll stay the season, then he'll decide his future then. I don't see Unai Emery because he's still got all to play for. The only thing, though, is based on results, he could get sacked. He's sitting 13th in La Liga. And for a team with European aspirations and want to be regularly in Europe, whether it be the Champions League or the Europa League, or even give or take the Conference League, because it's still European football, even though people slag it off. It's still European football. Like, I don't see him leaving unless they were mathematically out of a European position. But at the moment, you would expect, because Emery's actually a good manager, I do expect him to turn things around. But end of the day, if it depends on his position in the summer, I don't think he'll leave now. I think it'd be pointless.
For Emery with Newcastle, because it's because they haven't got a clear plan and they've been asking that manager who plays this kind of football, they've been asking that manager who plays that kind of football, looking at him, looking at her, blah, blah, blah. Then it's quite clear that Newcastle needs some direction right now. So why?
Agreed.
You know what? I think a manager like Emery, why is he not looking at that as a kind of a moment where he could actually go there and actually do that? He could go in there and go, listen, let's have this conversation. But if you're going to play this, you're going to have to play it by my rules. There's going to have to be, if you're going to guarantee me at least 4 seasons, to build something, no matter what happens. Obviously, relegation, then that changes things. But I mean, would Emery get relegated? No chance. I don't see it.
No way.
League. No way.
Definitely not.
So there's an opportunity for Newcastle now. I don't know who it is that's advising. It's like they've won the lottery, like so to speak, and now they've got people rushing around. They don't really know what to do with the money. Do you know what I mean? It's all a bit kind of up in the air, and they need to. I know they've had that guy from Manchester City there trying to use the Manchester City model, but that worked because there was other things going on for Manchester City. So you can't just take a blueprint from another club and think that you're going to apply it to yours and make it work. They've got to find their own identity and their own plan. Give a manager a real solid. This is where we want to go. Are you the right man to take us forward with it? And we'll give you the time you need and the backing that you need also. And in that way,
I think they'll take two models. I think they'll mix the Man City model with the Leicester model. I think that's what they're going to do, and then they'll take those two models and then they'll make it into their own. I do agree with you. They need their own identity. I don't see any problem with them looking at not the exact same option, but maybe similar to what Man City did first, like a Mark Hughes type, someone who can just start things slow and then build it. But the question is what exactly do Newcastle want for their style to be? Because I think when you look at Newcastle, the first thing that comes to mind is the 96-97 Entertainers team. Like, nothing realistically stands out more than that team. So I think that's where it really will come down to, is like do they want to go back to that where they were playing good football even though they missed out on trophies, but then go on and win something? Or do they want to be pragmatic and then just go on and win? I think they really need that direction now. If they don't have it, then we'll see where it goes. But I do agree with you. They need that solid identity, and they need somebody who's going to come in and kick it off. I'm not sure if Emery's going to be the one to start off, but it wouldn't be a bad choice. But I don't see it happening.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with everyone's points. I just want to say hi to Solo, Ankit, and Gary, who are in the chat as well, who just came. What's your opinion on Emery rejecting the contract there, Connor, as well?
To be honest, it doesn't bother me in the slightest because Newcastle are irrelevant, in my opinion. And I know people might disagree and say, yeah, they've got money now. They're irrelevant. I don't care what Newcastle do in my eyes. So they could get, they could get Guardiola next year for all I care. I focus on one team, and that's that's Manchester United. So in terms of Emery, yeah, he probably should stay at Villarreal. At this current stage, it is probably a down step. It won't be. When Newcastle are not going to go out there and buy these top players that they're linked with. They'll get good players, they'll get better quality for sure, but it's not an attractive proposition right now for players unless you go in there for the money. So I'm not too worried about them. In terms of Emery, I actually wanted him to go because it would have made our job against Villarreal a little bit easier. Now we're going to have to go to Spain. And I said this with, on the show I was with Reece yesterday, that we're going to have to go there and win anyway. That's going to be difficult with an Emery side. But he's been there a while. He's got them playing the way that he wants. They're very well organised. So in terms of that, I wish he would have gone, because then a new manager comes in. It's a bit of a mess trying to implement a new style, whatever. But with Emery still there, it makes our job a little bit easier. But yeah, I'm not too fussed what Newcastle do. I just wish he would have gone, like I said, to make our job a bit easier.
They're not as serious yet, Newcastle. I think the one that you really need to, even though like he says even though you don't technically keep an eye on clubs, and I think that's a fair point. You focus more on your club. I tend to focus more on clubs outside of Man United in terms of in Europe, because I like to watch European football. So I'm more focused on like AC Milan or Ajax. I like there, or even up here like with Rangers and stuff. Like I look there in that sense, and I want to keep an eye on them as well as United. But I think when you look at seriousness right now, are Newcastle serious yet? No. The one that could end up being serious, depending on where they go, is Tottenham. But then again, we all know the classic phrase, lads, it's Tottenham, which is still relevant. But at the moment, we do not know just how serious Tottenham are going to be. I think that's more of something to keep an eye on than Newcastle. Newcastle are not going to be serious yet for at least another 3 years. At least 3-4 years. It's going to take them time. I wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle go through 3 or 4 managers by 2025. 3 or 4. I wouldn't be surprised. And I don't know if it's going to be just sacking because they think they're a big club all of a sudden, because they're not. Newcastle haven't been a big club in fuck knows how long. Tottenham haven't been a big club since, I don't know. I mean, I did retweet Jamie O'Hara the other day and it made me laugh. Because he said Spurs were back, and I went back from where, 2008, 1991, 1961. Like, and to be fair, it's one of the funniest tweets I ever did, because the amount of likes and shit I got on it. But at least with Spurs, you see ambition, because they made the wrong appointment in Nuno. As much as I like Nuno as a manager, it was the wrong appointment because it doesn't fit what they want to be. They got rid of him after 10 games. They then bring in Conte, who's worked with Paratici as our director of football. So at least you have a clear relationship there that's still lasted. You've got a relationship there that's going to take them forward, and we'll see. But then again, he's been given 18 months. Does he last? That's the question, and that's where you need to look at the seriousness. That's what I think Tottenham right now is more serious than Newcastle. Newcastle's still got a long way to go because they're still building the right board.
Reece, the worrying aspect of this with Conte at Spurs is, for me, is this.
The only 2 points behind.
Harry Kane is now going to.
Who?
If he gets rid of this kind of like hoodoo, of the I'm a staying, I'm a going malarkey, and he now gets focused. He now gets coached differently by Conte and his setup, and they turn Harry Kane into what he was before, or better. then for me, I see Spurs here going on a bit of a slow trajectory to start with, on the up, and then near the end of the season, just going and going and going. I really do, because Conte is that good a manager, and they've got some decent players. Let's not kid ourselves. They've got some decent players, Spurs, who have been underperforming, under these managers, especially Nuno. I think Nuno was he was treading water from the start, wasn't he? He really was. He wasn't even their first choice, so I think
he actually turned them down as well, which is interesting. He turned them down originally in the summer. Conte, he turned the Spurs job down in the summer.
Yeah, but what was the reason for that though?
I think it was either guarantees or money. But look at him now. I think he's getting 485 grand a week, and I think not just the wages, which, to be fair, every manager, his stature, he deserves the money, because at least you actually see results. But the only other thing though is he been given the guarantees? I honestly don't know. I don't know what the guarantees are going to be like, but we'll find out.
It must have been, because let's have it right. The job there at Old Trafford was sitting there. They know that the old Man United, first of all, the reason why we didn't sack Ollie and go and get him straight away was because when the rumours were flying, we all know why, because Ed Woodward probably said no to the Glazers. It's a bad idea because of the finances involved. So, but then there's going to come a moment where we're going to panic, like Spurs did. There's going to come a moment where we're going to start panicking, and then they're going to be scratching their heads and their asses, and then it's too late. And then now, when Spurs went for him that first time, things were asked for. They said, "Oh no, I'm not sure about that." He's then like, "Well, what are you wasting my time for? Then listen, if you want me to come here and be a winner, then you're gonna have to give me what I need, and if not, see you in a bit." This time now, when they've gone to, what they've done? They've panicked and they've gone, "Yeah, look, Conte, I know it didn't work out first time, but listen, what we talked about last time, it's yours if you want the job." And he's gone, right, bang on. Why do you think things happen so quickly? He was at the bleeding training ground yesterday.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, that tells me that whatever he'd asked for previously, was still there, fresh with the ink was still wet. So he's just said, right, great, let's do it, bang. Because you don't move that quick unless there's been a long, a really long conversation that's happened before.
Definitely.
That you've gone back to. So for me, I think he's going to. He will get the money. How much? Who knows? Maybe 200 mil, something like that. 180, 190.
I think you'll see something in January. You might see maybe 2 or 3 signings, maybe, and then in the summer that's when they'll get to work.
He wants to bring in some players, doesn't he, from Italy? He wants Kesse.
You better not freaking get him. I swear I will be.
Who's that? Who's the defender at? I don't know how to pronounce it, but Vrij, Vrij.
Viraj.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, he wants to bring him in as well. He's got his eyes on some other players.
He wants his classic midfield warhorse. He wants Vidal as well.
Arturo Vidal. Well,
I think you'll be surprised as well. I think more players are going to move in January than you would think, because the World Cup's in December next year. So players have got to make a decision. They're not going to move next summer because they've only got half a season then to prove themselves for their World Cup team. A lot of players, I think, will move in January because then they've got a full calendar year. Because every player's dream is to play in the World Cup for the national side. So they're going to want to prove themselves. Van der Beek is a very interesting one because if he wants aspirations of getting in that Dutch side, he's going to have to move because obviously he's not getting a chance at United, is he? So I think you'll see a lot of movement
change
in January.
Can I ask you?
I think that's going to change. I think that's going to change.
Just want to ask you, Connor. Do you think it could work with Donny van der Beek in a 4-3-3 on the right side of a free?
Well, then you're dropping Bruno, aren't you? Unless you're playing Bruno at the left of the 3, but that's not really where he operates either. Van der Beek could play in a 3 if you've got a competent 6 behind them, but we don't. So I don't think you could put, and this is my issue when everyone says about Donny, who you take, whenever you're thinking about putting players in a team, you got to think who you're taking out, and you're not going to drop Bruno. I know I had a lot of people yesterday because I wouldn't coming at me because I wouldn't criticise him, and I don't know why.
We were getting a left, right, and centre last night. I was pissed off last night.
You've got, say you play a 4-3-3 in that system. You've got a front 3. You're not dropping Ronaldo. Rashford's just coming back and is on form. You've got 2 brilliant. I mean, Greenwood's not really a right winger, but he plays off the right, and you've got Sancho who's just brought. So who do you drop out of that midfield? You're looking at, and I've seen shouts of Donny playing a 6. I know he played it briefly for Ajax, but no,
I wouldn't do that. Not chance. No.
I've seen him play the 6 twice, once for Ajax and once for Holland, and Ajax and Holland lost those games. He was exposed in that position. They lost comfortably. So no.
Yeah.
And I seen Nippin's question, what would hurt more? Scotland losing to England or Man United losing to Liverpool? Well, instead of typing the question, I think if you actually think about it, you would know which one would hurt more. And that's just all serious. You would actually know which one hurts more. Both of them equally, because I hate the English team and I hate Liverpool.
Right, let's get ready for the preview then. I went with the first question what I had. Which formation do you think Ollie will use on Saturday? Because I know we've been using that back 5 recently. We've always had that 4-2-3-1 formation as well. There's rumours in the past we was using a 4-3-3. For me, just because Ollie had a high success rate against Pep, I think he might go back to the 4-2-3-1, especially with Varane being injured as well. What are you thinking, Connor? What formation do you think Ollie might use?
Yeah, I mean, we were very successful with that last year. Obviously, 2-0 away at the Etihad. I think it was, I can't remember who got the first. It was Fernandes' penalty, wasn't it? And then Luke Shaw's brilliant second goal. But people won't want to admit this. But one of the big reasons we won that game is because of Dan James, because of his work rate off the ball. Now, that's not something you're going to get from Ronaldo, or even Rashford at the moment, and Greenwood doesn't do it either. So if he's going to go for a 4-2-3-1, you're looking at a front line of, let's say, Ronaldo, Rashford, Greenwood or Sancho, and then Fernandes in the middle with McTominay and Fred. You don't have enough workhorses, if you want to call it that, to track back and help your fullbacks out. Because yes, Wan-Bissaka is brilliant one-on-one. Sure, I don't know what's going on with him at the minute, but against that City side, who are going to press so high. I mean, like I said, they play Bernardo Silva in midfield, Gundogan in midfield. So many attacking options in midfield, and it's going to be like Liverpool if we play that 4 at the back again, and you don't have wingers that are willing to track back and help your fullbacks. Just going to get overloaded again. Yeah. We can't do that again. So I hope he goes for a back 5. I think he will. But the issue is then, who do you play? Because Varane being out, Lindelof potentially being out. So then you're looking at Bailly, Maguire. Then you'd stick Shaw as your left-sided centre-back and Telles on the left. Now, that's great, but what if one of those gets injured as well? Then you are looking at, I mentioned him earlier, then you're looking at Phil Jones, or you drop McTominay back. It's not looking...
Tuanzebe, I'm bringing him back from loan.
There's no recall clause in his contract.
Oh, really?
No, but none of our loan players except like for injuries. If you get injured, then you've got to return to your parent club, but we've got no recall clause on any youth player. None.
Yeah, so I think he'll go with a back 5, because ultimately I don't care how we win as long as we get the 3 points, because I don't buy into this whole, it's buying Ollie time. It isn't. I firmly believe that he's going after C regardless of result. I think that's already been decided. I think they've looked at international break and went, right, we'll make a decision then, because then we've got a bit of time to bed them in. But people might disagree, fine. We ultimately, none of us know. We'll give an opinion on it. But I think he should go with a back 5, because we'll be leaking goals all over the place otherwise. And we can't afford another embarrassment. Even if we draw 0-0, I'll take that. Let's just not get embarrassed again, for God's sake.
Talk, what formation do you think Ollie will use for Saturday?
Yeah, I agree there, Connor. He's got to go for he's got to do the 3. He's got to do the 3 at the back. And like I say, if we're missing some centre backs, then yeah, Luke Shaw, bring in Telles, and try and. What we can't do though is, like last night, we cannot allow City to just get in between the lines, because they'll just take the piss. We've got to, if he's going to use that formation, I hope the training this week is going to be around, right, look, yeah, we know what City are going to do. We know they're going to have loads of possession of the ball. We've got to pick our time and area of the pitch where to press. But we've got to get man to man. You've got to mark them out. You've got to get close to them, because that way you can stop them, playing their game. If we just sort of do what we've been doing, where we're kind of mannequin-esque, they're gonna find ways around us and get in behind us. That's what City are all about under Pep, is getting in behind, and they always do. If all they're gonna do is go, right, look, let's we'll just push it wide and run us. This is what we should have been doing last night, pushing it wide with runners. But we weren't doing that. We fail every time we try and do it. So I just think, we've got to give ourselves a chance by doing the 5 or 3, however you want to read it. But that's what I think.
Yeah, and what about you, Reese? What formation do you think is going to be used?
As much as I think he might revert to the back 4 because of injuries, but I think if we do go with a back 3, then ideally we should go for wingers instead of 2 up top. I think we should try and I think this would be a good time to use more of the technical players, because we saw it last night that it's good to have a couple of workhorses, but you need the technical players in there. So I would honestly have the likes of Tellez in the squad. I would have, like, in the starting 11, I'd have Van de Beek, I'd have Matic 100% in the midfield. I would have a Sancho in there. Bruno obviously has to play. Ronaldo. That's the one thing he seems to forget is, like, these technical players will win him the game. Like, as long as he has, like, the runners and the workhorse just to, like, break up the ball and then get it to the technical players, let them do the job. So if it was that, I would strongly suggest that. But we all know he won't do it anyway. He'll play Mick finished, and that's what will happen. And then we'll get exposed in the midfield. And then at centre back, he'll play Harry Maguire. And frankly, right now, I don't even want to say his name because he's pissed me off so many times the past couple of weeks. It's borderline. It's borderline. The fact is, if I see his face, I just want to be sick. That's just how disappointing he's been. His head's still in the clouds, and it's just not effective. Like, he honestly needs to be dropped, and it's not for the sake of dropping him because he sucks. He needs to be dropped because he's not in the fitness to health either. He's clearly still not 100% fit, and we're forcing him to play. If he gets injured again, it's down to the manager this time for playing him constantly. And that's something that has to change, is he really needs to stop with the favouritism when players aren't fit. I do agree with the lads in terms of Tellez and Shaw. I would 100% play Shaw as the left centre-back. I would play Tellez left wing-back.
Me too.
I think the only decision maybe is maybe right wing-back. I would actually...
Yeah, it was mentioned here, wasn't it, on this comment?
Yeah, I think Baye has to play. To be fair, I would drop Maguire and play Baye as the lone centre back. I play Wan-Bissaka right beside him. Wan-Bissaka's recovery pace and the capability, he's actually better in defensive side than attacking. I would have Wan-Bissaka right beside Baye and recovery along beside him, give him that assurance. I play Dallo as the right wing back. In all fairness, I would. I think it gets us more out of it because we need more technical players in that team. That's what I would do. I would play Dallo, Tellez as wing backs.
Can I just say on the back of that, Aaron Wan-Bissaka is not as bad as people make out.
Oh, he's not bad at all. I don't think he is. I think he's a good player. I would rather him be more in a defensive position because defensively, he's a machine. Whereas I think Dallo is slightly better going forward than him. But he's not as bad as what many pick out. I see all the time on Twitter, people think he's like the worst attacking fullback in the league. He's not. I've seen worse.
He got more goal contributions than Luke Shaw last year, but people weren't ready to accept that. And also, if you look at when we play, look at the space Luke Shaw's got because he's got a competent left winger in last season when Rashford was there to free up the space for Shaw to get crosses in. When Wan-Bissaka, this is just last season, obviously, well, we haven't really seen Sancho on the right. But when you've got Wan-Bissaka, he's got about 3 players to beat just to get a cross in because nobody's helping him on his side. So he's going to look worse, with his attacking output.
That's honestly why I wouldn't play him. That's honestly why I wouldn't play him in the right back slot again, or the right wing back slot against City, unless you're just getting him solely to just defend. Because, like you said, he doesn't have that competent winger in front of him. Purely because of that, I think it's a detriment to him. And we all know, like, on the ball, he isn't too bad. He isn't too bad on the ball. It's what he's got in front of him. And I would rather have somebody who is more capable as an attacking player than him and just let him do defensive work. Because we all know, like, he's going to pocket Sterling if Sterling plays anyway. So we don't have anything to worry about that. Like that's like, honestly, you can get drunk on Friday, you can get heavily drunk on a Friday night and still predict Wan-Bissaka to have Sterling in his back pocket. I think defensively, like, he is our best option. I do not want him going up against, like, going further forward because necessarily he doesn't need to. We've got other players who can do that for us. But he isn't as bad as what many people. I've seen so many people on YouTube call him out, and I'm like, where's the rational? Where's the rational discussion behind it? The only difference is I'm not going to call him out and say he's bad going forward. I'm just saying there's another player there who's better at it because he's better at the defensive work. Because he's still the best defensive fullback in the world in terms of what I've seen.
I agree, and I think in terms of when he first joined Man United and now, I think he's improved so much going forward as well. You can tell the whole difference compared to when he first started at the club. And I just want to say thank you for bringing these comments in as well, and thank you for subscribing. I did notice that you did subscribe to the channel, so thank you very much for that. I'll go to my next point here because I know we did touch on a bit of a Bayer. Put my teeth in, Maisy, please. But yeah, with Varane being out for a month, will Bayer be included in the starting 11? When you do look at his game yesterday, you think he shouldn't be dropped. And I've seen a lot of people on social media was actually calling for, if Varane was fit, for an Eric Bayer and a Varane partnership instead of a Maguire and Varane or a Lindelof and Varane. They would prefer a Bayer and Varane partnership. What do you think? Do you think Bailly should be included in the starting 11?
Yeah, all day long. Listen, I know he was, you know, people are questioning him in last night's performance, being out of fault, out of position, etc. But you know, when you're playing in a team that is kind of dizzy, you know, there's not just him. Like I said, that second half was just like we had the four at the back, and I don't even know what was going on in front of them. So you know what, I would like to see him there. I like to see him in there because he's, like I say, his tenacity and his aggressiveness and his pace. You know, it's all good. It's all good. So I want him in there. No two ways about it.
Reese, are you wanting Eric Bailly in? I know you did. You have been. I've seen different comments about Eric Bailly because you're not his biggest fan, are you, Eric Bailly's?
I think the words "not his biggest fan" is an understatement. I don't rate him. I personally do not rate Eric Bailly because he's no matter what he does in terms of intercepting the ball or getting the ball forward or he's quick at recovery, the guy is injured more recently than Phil Jones has been in his entire Man United career. Like Eric Bailly has had far worse injuries than Jones. The difference is Jones just can't stay fit for 90 seconds, let alone 90 minutes. But if he can actually stay fit, stop being a reckless son of a bitch, because that's his letdown, is he's far too reckless, and that for me is a worry, because when he's reckless, he's caught a position, he tries to overcomplicate things, he tries to be skillful when he doesn't have to be in front of our own box, which is stupid on its own way. That's career suicide. Then frankly, he would be a lot better. In that sense, no. I would rather have Varane and Lindelof all day, every day.
And what about you, Connor? Do you think Bailly should start?
I mean, if we're going to persist with a back five, he has to, because we don't have anyone else. So it'll be Bailly, Maguire, Shaw as and then Tell as a fullback. So it literally depends. If you're asking me personally, if everyone's fit, does he start? No, but with the injuries we've got, then yes, he probably does have to start because we just don't have anyone else. If you go into a back four, does he start then? Probably, because you're looking at Bailly and Maguire. That does worry me a bit because they get exposed to the back five, let alone as a back two, as a back four. So I'm with Reese. I'm not but I think Bailly is a good player, but I don't think he's as good as people make out. I think the reason he looks better is because he does all these, acrobatic blocks, and things like that. But you've got to question why we're in that situation in the first place. A lot of it comes from a Bailly mistake. Not yesterday. Don't come after me and say yesterday, it was Pogba's mistake in the edge of the box. There was other occurrences. But a lot of the time it's Bailly's mistake, and it's his recovery pace to get back into position to then make up for it. So I don't think he's very good on the ball, but so is Lindelof. Lindelof's passing is brilliant. But we've just got better defenders. He's definitely the fourth choice in our team. But, you're looking at the moment with injuries, he's not a bad one to have. He's better than a lot of other clubs' fourth choice centre-back, put it that way.
This is why I honestly cannot wait for all hail King Mengi. That's why I cannot wait for Mengi to one day get in the Man United team, because I think he's going to be phenomenal for us, because every time I watch him, he just impresses me like that. Like that's the difference. Is I look at a player, and it's for a centre back, it's all about composure in front of the box, being able to lead, whether it's in a back four, whether it's being back four, which is crucial, or in a back three. You've got to work your systems well. Got to be able to work with who you're around. And I look at Maguire, and Maguire only works with Varane or Bailly. Lindelof only works with Varane or Bailly. Varane works with all of them, and that says all for me. Is like, and obviously Varane's now injured again, so we've lost that key player at the heart of defence. And that, I think that's what we're lacking, is we don't just need one Varane, we need another player identical to Varane. Like we actually need more than one equivalent of Varane, but you're not going to get it. So that says all really just how bad we are in terms of centre backs, as our wealth of talent in that position is extremely poor. And that's all stems from the fact that we do not sign players well. We make some good signings elsewhere, but centre back is like one of the key positions, and we've only got one world class centre back. When
That's
ideally
crazy,
you
though.
need three.
I'm not saying what you're saying is crazy. I mean, like, if you listen to yourself saying that, and then it's like, do you remember when we signed Varane and we thought, right, we've got 4 brilliant centre backs now, and now we're sat here saying we've only got one. Like how it changes in 10, 15 games or so. Just because of what we've said at the start of the season, concede. I mean, what is it? 1 clean sheet in 22 or whatever it is now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's, and obviously we got the clean sheet against Wolves as well. So at least we're up to 2. So we've upgraded. But I look in the sense, I think I said Varane in terms of on the field players. Varane would be the player that, like, our key sign in the summer and all that for as a player, because what he's actually done is he's exposed the ownership, he's exposed the manager, and he's exposed the players in the field, because he's exposed the quality beside him in that position. Because before we had talked about, like, in terms of like midfield, where Bruno sets the bar for the midfield because of how high he works, and then Ronaldo comes in, he sets an even higher bar because he's the ultimate clutch player in football. Varane has never lost a cup final in his career, 14 from 14. He played with Ramos and he played with Pepe, 2 of the best centre backs I've ever seen. So he's had that level of stature beside him. He's came in and exposed the talent we've got at centre back. In how long has he been here? 3-4 months? So it says all for me, like what he's done since he's came in. He's exposed talent, and that's because there's no clear direction. So I agree about the fact is it's 4 very good centre backs, but only one of them is essentially world class, and that's Raphael Varane, and now he's out again for a month.
Yeah. We've got Nikki in the chat. Hello, Queen. I hope you're well. She said hi to Maisy in the panel. We've got her here as well. What will happen to £80 million Maguire? With Maguire, last season we were saying, "Oh my God, Maguire is injured. We can't cope without Maguire," and we did notice that. But this season, it's like it's Varane now. It's not, "Oh, Maguire's injured." It's Varane who's injured now. And I feel like, in a way, sometimes with Maguire, and he has that poor game, I feel like it's the captain's armband necessarily what does protect him quite a lot. I don't know if you agree with that, but I feel like if he didn't have that captain's armband, maybe he might perform that a little bit better. And I do also think as well, perhaps, that if he wasn't the captain, he probably wouldn't be playing as much as well. What are you all thinking about that?
I think Reece hit the nail on the head, though, when he said about Varane has shown what a world-class defender is. Maguire's not a bad defender. He isn't. He doesn't just become a bad defender overnight. I think what it's shown is when you put him next to Varane. Varane is world-class. Maguire's good. So Maguire looks worse than he actually is because he's got Varane next to him. And I think that's what we've seen this year. Maguire last year and in the Euros was brilliant. And this is another reason why I bloody hate international football, because it is ruining players like Maguire and Shaw, who have been overplayed for the last 18 months. And now we're kind of seeing the backlash of that. This is what happens at Liverpool, by the way. Players overplayed, and then they had a season off, and then now look at them this year. This is what I believe is happening to a couple of our players. And you're looking at Maguire going, what we saw last year, that wasn't a fluke. He can clearly play decent, a decent level. Not to Varane's level; they're completely different players in terms of quality. But yeah, I just think what Ree said is bang on. We've seen the difference. Maguire's not dropped tremendously. I just think Varane has set the bar so high. Maguire now looks worse. Yeah,
I think when you look at standard, I think Talk will agree with me on this one. When you look at him, and this is not a disrespect because this guy won us a treble. He was a very good player for us. When I mentioned about Varane exposing talent, we signed in 1998 the best centre back in world football. We signed Jaap Stam.
Oh, he's incredible.
And at the time, Ronnie and Jaap Stam to this day, even though he only played 3 seasons with Man United, is still my favourite Man United centre back that ever played for us, right? But you look at Jaap Stam, Ronnie Johnson, very reliable centre back, wasn't world class. He was also in the same bracket of Maguire of a good to very good centre back. Jaap Stam was the world's best centre back in 1998, and we won as a treble. And I always said because of Stam, he's the reason. Stam was the final piece in the puzzle because he gave us the defensive coverage, and he gave us somebody who can lead a defence. We didn't have that. And I look at that, and he actually exposed the centre-back talent pool at that exact same time. So from what happened in 98 is being repeated in 2021. Varane is exposing talent, and he's exposing the people who make the decisions. And that says it all for me, like where we said we don't just need one Varane like equivalent, we need 2. And that says all. Well, in fact, no, to be honest, you need 3. But you cannot get away in world football with just having one world-class centre-back in your defence. You need at least 2 or 3 to challenge each other and be at that top level of competition. Otherwise, you're not going to win anything. And that says all for me. Like, that level of exposure is so important.
Mm-hmm. Would you agree there with what Reese was saying, Talk?
Sorry. Yeah, back. Sorry. I missed a bit of that.
I'm disgusted. You missed the best speech. You missed the best speech in football.
Sorry.
What I basically said was Varane exposing the level of centre back quality, which is only one world class centre back. Varane is almost identical to us signing Stam in '98 when Stam exposed the level of quality in our centre backs at the time, where it was good centre backs, but it wasn't world class. Like I used Ronnie Johnson as a comparison to Maguire, both good, but not world class. Whereas Stam and Varane are. Stam is the best centre back in '98, and Varane is world class. And I was saying, like, that's that level of exposure where they're exposing who makes the decisions and they're exposing the talent in the squad.
Well, I mean, we've got. Where else do we need to be looking at the way? Because we're all focusing on the players. But I want to ask you the question: does this squad of players that we've got right now, they play better under a Klopp or under a Guardiola?
Fuck knows. I honestly do not know until I see it.
Well, I know 100% they would. No two ways about it. They would, most definitely.
At least they'd be made to work a different style. At least they'd be made to work in a different way.
It's about, this is again, I don't want to keep banging on about it, but it's the look, for God's sake. Are you anybody? If I'd have said to you before Ferguson retired, if I'd have said to you, right, let me tell you what's going to happen now. Fergie's going to retire next week, and we're going to bring in an ex-player, and he's going to bring in a coach from the youth squad, and he's going to bring in a coach who's never coached before, and we're going to go on and we're going to be world beaters. You'd have laughed at me. Everybody would have laughed and gone, "What? Are you crazy?" No, you don't work like that. This is Man United you're talking about. That you don't do that, and that's exactly what we've done. Listen, McKenna, Michael Carrick are not in any way, shape, or form good enough to be coaching Manchester United.
I disagree on McKenna, I've got to be honest.
I'm just going to respond to a question because it's a question of when was the last time Juventus won the Champions League. It was 1996 versus Ajax. Ajax were defending champions. That was the first of 3 consecutive finals for Juve. 1-1, lost 2.
If McKenna's being held back here or being made to look worse than he is by Michael Carrick's presence, then you know what? Maybe that I don't know that, but for as it stands right now, quite clearly they don't work as a team. The coach himself, because it's just not. They're not being coached in any kind of. We've got like I know what. And Monday says it all the time. Patterns of play. Where's the patterns of play? Where's the plan? What are we doing? Where's the channels? Where's the weak side? You're playing an opposition here. Okay, where's their weak side? Right, well, let's exploit it. We're always
we don't have a partner play though. That's the thing.
No,
we don't have one.
Exactly. So where does that come from?
We're a counter-attacking team. He wants us to play pressing football when these players don't know how to play pressing football, except when they just run.
Not even doing that.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is we did have a style for the first 18 months under. You can moan about it, or you want about, it's counter-attacking, we sat back, but that was his style. The criticism I've got of Ollie now is, why are we trying to change it? Like that got us to second last year, got us to a final, got us to a bunch of semi-finals. Yes, we didn't win, and I know that's labelled at him, and rightly so. But that style was working to a point, and you bring new players in like Varane, Sancho, Ronaldo, and you go, right, now let's really go for it. And he's changed the style completely, and now we're trying to press. We saw against Liverpool, we're trying to high press all of a sudden with players that don't do that, and it's like that's where I'm looking at Ollie going, why are we changing it now? Going away from something that was working for the players. And I think that's what the problem is. We're trying to change it too much. And now Ollie's going, as you mentioned earlier, he's going to a back five. Now we might see a back four again, then we'll go back five, which is fine in certain moments. We did that under Ollie, by the way, in his early tenure, and even last season in the Champions League, we went back to a back five. So it's not new. Ollie does do that. But I agree in terms of he's almost just throwing formations out there now and throwing players together, hoping it works, which, to be fair, is what under pressure managers do. You see it down the bottom of the league all the time with relegation teams. They start panicking and throwing teams together to hopefully get that result. So, yeah, I just don't know. If you ask me now, what my kind of thoughts are on it, it's a bit all over the place because I don't really know.
No, this is it. This is where we're all at as fans right now. We're in a kind of. If you take a look, step back and have a look at us from afar, from our biggest rivals' point of view, for example, Liverpool. I mean, wow, it's like looking at an after party, isn't it? Everything's just all over the place. Everything's in a mess. People seem still half pissed. You know what I mean? It's all like people who don't seem to know like what they're doing. And they're really organised. They've got a plan. They've got a style of play. They know exactly what they're doing. Individual roles, blah blah blah. Same with City, individual roles. But we seem to be we've lost kind of in the process of losing our way, and we have to claw that back sharpish. And this is where I thought the Conte deal would have been perfect because of the sharp shock effect. Wallop, get us back on, get us back in, whether it would have been a 3-5-2 or not. We have to be drawn back into that. This disciplined, good football, and actually win something. We have to get back into that winning mentality. That's where, because if the mentality isn't there, if I keep saying to you, oh yeah, we're going to go out and play, and we're going to win, we're going to go and win this, we're going to go and win that, and we never do, and we always end up struggling, losing or drawing. Yeah, at some point, you've got no faith in it at all. You can't trust in it. And there has to be some trust, doesn't there? If I was your manager, Conor, and I kept saying it to you, 3 years later, you're going, wait a minute. Well, you said this 3 years ago, boss, but we have not won anything yet.
Yeah, your points lead nicely actually into the question about favoritism towards certain players. I think Ollie, rightfully, you can argue about certain players, and I know obviously people talk about Varane and Maguire being rushed back. Me personally, that's on the medical staff because they're the ones that are clearing these players. Ollie will just get a list of, are they fit to play? Yes, well, I'm going to play them then because they're the better, in Varane's case, the better players. So that's on the medical staff. In terms of favouritism towards certain players, I don't know what... There's some players like Van der Beek and Telles where you can go, why are they not being given game time? But as for others, they've had chances. Let's not be real.
Agree.
Pogba plays a lot. Lingard has had a lot of chances.
Sancho's had a fair few chances this season as well. He's played. If you look at the amount of Premier League games, I think he's played around 6 of them. So he's still played a fair bit amount. Even though he's played in a different position, he has still played. And yeah, carry on, Connor.
No, I was just going to say favouritism. It's not necessarily favouritism. Ollie's got to pick players. What Talk was just talking about there about trust. It's exactly right. Ollie needs to pick players, and I said this a few weeks ago. He needs to be selfish now and just pick players he knows will win a game, not players on name status. Because some of the squad, and this is where I get really confused, right? Because everyone says, "Oh, they, some of the players have down tools." Well, they're clearly not, because we're fighting back every time. We're not going down, and apart from Liverpool, obviously that game in isolation, and Leicester potentially, but we were 1-up in that game. We're not going behind and then staying behind. We're always coming back, which makes you think the players are still playing for him. So when you're talking about favouritism, I don't think there's players in the squad that are. Van der Beek and Tellez aside, because I think they have got a right to be questioning. But I don't know. It's not going to be his downfall as such, but he's got to pick players he can trust, because ultimately, like Talk keeps saying, about trusting the players, all it takes is for one player to go, you've been saying this for years. Why are we still following this thing? And then I said this to Reece yesterday on a show, players in their little WhatsApp groups, it gets around, oh, did you like this training session that we did? It gets around then, and that's how it starts to spread. So I get why he does it, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm. It's good how you mentioned about Donny, because for me, when Donny has had the opportunity, it feels like the majority of the time he hasn't really shown to Ollie, this is why I should be in the starting 11 and not Pogba and not Bruno and all the others. It just feels like when he has been given the opportunity, he hasn't took that. I think yesterday he did show what he was capable of, even though it was very little. But when he played, for instance, he started in the Champions League in September. He didn't show that for me, and there was a couple of games last season nearer to the end where it felt like he didn't show it for me as well. If all of you agree with that as well.
I think Reece is probably best on an Ajax point of view, but I don't know. Me personally, I don't. This is controversial. I don't rate Donny as a player. I'll let someone else take over and judge.
Donny's not being given enough time. He's not being given enough time.
I think people are going to people make excuses. I think that's the thing. This is where I'm going to sit. I'm going to settle the Donny thing once and for all. Right. I'm going to end it now, and people can stop bitching once and for all. The level of quality he's playing in the Eredivisie compared to what he's playing in the Premier League, it's faster, it's more aggressive, and it's more direct compared to what he's playing in the Dutch League. In the Dutch League, it's more technical, but in Europe, he's getting at least a sample of what the Premier League is like, because you walk up against teams that are similar to English football. The problem is he doesn't play those sort of teams week in, week out. And because of that, he's not been able to adapt properly to the Premier League. But the problem is, and this is the thing, a player cannot adapt to the Premier League, just like they had the exact same problem with Henrik Mkhitaryan when he came from the Bundesliga. You cannot expect a player to adapt to English football. Fuck off with these fireworks. You cannot expect a player to adapt to English football by playing 11v11 at Carrington. That is not how you adapt to the league. You've got to play them in the league. He's not going to get he's not going to get the chances. But the problem is people are saying, "Oh, he's not getting chances. This, he's not getting chances. That." When Ollie's actually played them, Van der Beek's only had one good game, maybe two at Man United. But he doesn't actually build on it because he doesn't get the game time then the following game to go and build on it by getting a starting position. So whatever he does in that game where he's actually good, that is great. But he's not actually building on it. I don't know if it's because of training or it's simply because the manager thinks McTominay and Fred are more suited to his system. Although, to be fair, I think they are, because frankly, one of them yesterday should have been sent off. The other wasn't around. I look and I think he needs to put more trust in these technical players more, and one of them is Van der Beek, but he's not going to get the chances purely because whatever he does in that short spell for 10 minutes, he doesn't replicate it the following game. If he gets a start and he plays for 60 minutes, he doesn't replicate, and that's the problem. He doesn't replicate performances. It's a shame because he's a good player, but there's also a different level of quality in the leagues. And it all comes to find he doesn't replicate in the Premier League as well. He doesn't replicate performances.
And Talk, what was your opinion on the Donny situation as well?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, he's got when you bring a player into a game, you've got to have a certain amount of time to sort of get into the game. You've got to get up to the game tempo, and you can't just be bringing him on far too late. I mean, he's not getting. This is a trust thing, from Ollie's point of view. It's a trust thing. He does not trust Donny van der Beek, and like you say, I was talking about, in training, what's he seeing in training? Is it down to his attitude and application? Because that's the two big things in training. If you're not showing that, then yeah, okay, hold your hands up and say, well, look, if you ain't showing those two things, then obviously the manager's going to go, well, you're not showing it, me. But if he is showing that kind of desire and and listening to what's being asked of him in training, if he is being asked to do anything nice, then it's just a case of trust. And all he's too trusting, i.e., like we were saying before, in other players. You know, the double pivot, McFred, too trusting in it, and he's got to at some point, like maybe too late now, but you know what? For me, he's got to try something different, something new, to see, at least give it a chance. Like we said, no point in trying it in training and then going, oh, I'm not sure about that if it works or not. I mean, like my perfect analogy about the golf swing. I do my practice swing when I'm playing golf. You could record it and use it as an example, right? Because it's perfection. Let me tell you, I've had so many people say your swing absolutely sensational. As soon as I step up to the ball, what happens? It all goes to shit. It goes to shit. Right? The ball goes all over, flying into the trees, all over, over into the road and bouncing down the road into someone's windscreen. You know what I mean? And it's, yeah.
There is one thing that really does bug me, right? And this is where I really question. I know you guys watch football, and I can talk to you guys all day about football, but there's people that are on like YouTube and Twitter who constantly say play Donny in the pivot in a defensive position. When I see people say that, and because he can play as a 6, this is where I actually go, what are you watching? Like, do you actually watch football, or are you playing FIFA? Now, I could easily, because I've got the Ajax Dortmund game on my PS5 running on BT Sport. I could easily switch on FIFA and put Donny in the pivot, and then there we go, boom. Oh, God, I'm living to your narrative. Donny is not a defensive-minded player. He is an attack-minded player. He couldn't defend to save his life. He can't. And if you want a perfect example, Bath Time with Vaughan, the Leicester game last season, he is not freaking wrong. It's a perfect example. He's a good player. He's got the intelligence and the versatility from playing in the Dutch systems, like the Dutch league and all that, and the Dutch academies. He's done that, but he is not a player that can go into number 6 and play it. He's not that type of player. He likes to get forward. He likes to play in the attacking positions where he can expose space and he can work around it. If you want to look at Donny as a player, the identical similarity is Thomas Muller. What Thomas Muller was a decade ago. He is just like that. He likes to get in the spaces, work around and operate. He is not a 6. So the people that think he plays in a 6, I don't know about you, but I think you should lay off the coke.
I will just point out a comment as well that I saw from Vincent earlier. I understand what you're trying to say about getting him game time. Putting him in the under 23s would make it worse. I can
put him in the under 23s.
I watch the 23s all the time and the 18. 23 football is so different to the Premier League. The jump is huge. It would do him no favours going into the 23s because there's a reason why half of our loan players at the moment and half of our players in the academy, when they come to the first team, look out of place. Yes, that everyone in the 23s is skillful, right? But the football in the 23s, everyone plays the same. If Donny goes into 20, there's just no point. It wouldn't make him a better player. It wouldn't make him more suited to United. I get what you're saying in terms of game time and getting him up to pace. He can do that at Carrington. He may as well play against the first 11 at Carrington.
If you're going to put him anywhere, if you're going to give him game time in the league, you send him out on loan to a Premier League club. That's actually more not like logical than put him in the under 23s. Because put him in the under 23s, you're right. It's the level, and I watch the academy as well, and it is at a different level. It's not as quick pace as well. Like people in the academy levels, quick pace game. It's not. It might be quick because they're younger players and they're building themselves up, but it's not quick compared to professional football at an adult level. It's completely different. I completely agree with you. The other thing as well is you could play Donny. I've said it before, and I don't actually mind it. You could play Donny in a pivot, but if you're going to play Donny in a pivot, you need a proper sitting player. And this is the thing is we don't plan properly because the perfect player we've got is Matic, but Matic is at that level in his career where Matic cannot play every single week. But when he does play, he's so composed in games. When you watch Matic play, the only thing I worry about is him being beaten for pace. That's the only thing because without the ball, he's comfortable. It's just the fact he doesn't have the legs. If he had the legs, I guarantee our starting system would have Matic and Van de Beek. With Matic sitting, and Donny would be in that operating role just to get the ball forward. But that ain't ever going to happen because we do not have a sitter. that actually suits the system.
Yeah, I completely agree there. And now I am going to wrap up the show. Everyone, they can shout out the socials and tell
I
me
forgot
what
to
you
say
think.
we're beating City at the weekend. We forgot to talk about that shithole. That's because it's City. Nobody cares. But yeah, we're beating them 2-1 on Saturday morning.
And do you want to shout out your social as well?
Mine, it's I don't give a fuck at Twitter. Just kidding. If you want to follow me, guys, I live in a chaotic universe, my own. It's Devil's Rising, and you can find me also on the Weekly Armchair, where I'm mostly exclusive there. You can find me on the Dugout Football Channel on a Monday. You can find me on, when I get back on it, because I've been taking a little break from the Rich Sports Channel. I need to get back on there. And obviously, you can find me now and again on the All for United with Connor. So, buzz. Kicking it real.
Talk, where can we find you and what score do you think it's going to be?
I think it's going to be 2-0 City. You find me on Twitter at iTalkMU. You find me on this channel. You find me on the Man United Agenda.
I'm going to mute myself because these fireworks are pissing me off.
Connor, where can we find you and what score do you think it's going to be?
Do you know what? I think we're going to beat them. But like I said earlier, I don't think it's going to make any impact on Ollie's job anyway. I think we'll beat them 2-1 because we're not going to keep a clean sheet because we just don't. So I'll go with 2-1, Ronaldo with both, just because it's Ronaldo. My social's there if you want to follow my Twitter, but I am going to be coming off it for a couple of weeks anyway, so there probably isn't much point following my Twitter. More importantly, go and follow the All for United accounts. It's All for United and All for United WFC for the women's content as well. They're doing some really brilliant stuff over there, so definitely go and check that one out.
Yeah, All for United WSC, you can find them on my featured channel, so you can go and subscribe to them through that way. I think it's going to be 2-1 to Man United, and you can also find me here as normal, Man United Agenda. I do go on there sometimes, and All for United WSC. You can catch me on there too. I will be next doing a stream on Sunday at 12 p.m. I know that's very early for me. I'm usually a night owl, but you can find me on there 12 o'clock. I'll be doing a watch along for Man United women versus Tottenham. So that's their first game after international break. So go and check that out. But until Sunday, I'll see you all soon. Bye.